we got this model here. And the first part, we have the sternoclavicular joint. You know, that's going to be where the clavicle joins the sternum, right up in here. So sternoclavicular joint, right where this, right where the clavicle joins the sternum. Your sternoclavicular. And then the nice thing about most of these ligaments is that they're going to be named basically after the parts they're attaching. And so we've got these three right up in here between the clavicle and the scapula that are nice and obvious. We have the acromioclavicular. Is this one right up on top, attaches the acromion and the clavicle. So acromioclavicular right here attaches the acromion process and the clavicle. We have below that, we have this one right up in front that's super obvious, the coracoacromial, coracoacromial, goes from the coracoid to the acromion. So coracoacromial right here, coracoid to acromion, coracoacromial, coracoacromial, and the coracoid to the acromion, coracoid to acromion. And then finally, we have this little guy right up under here. That's going to be your coracoclavicular, going from the coracoid to the clavicle. So that little guy right there, coracoclavicular, going from the coracoid to the clavicle. Coracoclavicular, coracoid to the clavicle. So that's those three right there. Okay. Then coming down, we have the rotator cuff tendons. And so we've got our first one, we have the supraspinatus muscle, which is going to have part of its tendon showing up right there. Little tiny bit there. So we have the supraspinatus muscle and a little bit of the tendon showing through there. Supraspinatus and a little bit of the tendon. Supraspinatus and a little tiny bit of the tendon poking through. We have the infraspinatus, which they have cut away the muscle, and so we just have a little bit of the muscle left and then some of the tendon there. The infraspinatus, muscle and tendon there, infraspinatus, right there. And same thing, on the other side we have the subscapularis, a little bit of the muscle left and then the tendon as well. Subscapularis with a little bit of the muscle and tendon left. So subscapularis, right there. And then the teres minor, this model is not the greatest, but this coming into the side is supposed to be the teres minor tendon here. So this muscle here is the teres minor tendon. This one right here, teres minor tendon. It should be a little bit higher up. It should be more parallel to the subscapularis, but not exactly set up the greatest. But that's what that's supposed to be, is a teres minor tendon there. Okay. Okay, that's your rotator cuff. Let's see, and then of course the glenoid labrum would be the cartilaginous pad right there in between the head of the humerus and the scapula, between the humerus and the glenoid fossa. But of course I can't remove this, so we can't see it here. Okay, the elbow joint. Only got two real things we're concerned with on the elbow joint. We have the annular ligament right here. Annular ligament wraps around the head of the radius here. So the annular ligament right here. We have some more of the articular capsule for the elbow here as well. That's what all their garbage is. But the annular ligament is this one right here. Wraps around like so. And then we also have the interosseous membrane or interosseous ligaments. Those are going to be the ligaments traveling between the radius and ulna. So it's going to be the ligaments right between them. This model has them removed. It's going to be these ligaments that go right between the two. You should have some dense, regular, fibrous connective tissue running between the two and holding the bones together. But it's been removed, but it will be in there. Okay, so that's the interosseous ligaments or membrane there. Let's see. And then wrist, we saw the extensor and flexor retinaculums on the hand models. Okay, coming down to the pelvic girdle, we have the sacroiliac joint is going to be where the sacrum meets the iliums here, where the two auricular surfaces come together. And so we will have two sacroiliac ligament sets here. We have the ventral on the front side, ventral sacroiliac ligaments on the front side. And on the back is where we'll have the dorsal sacroiliac ligaments wrapping around the backside here. Okay. We will also have the sacrotuberous and sacrospinous ligaments. Those guys are going to go, just as you'd expect, from the sacrum to the ischial spine for the sacrospinous. So the sacrospinous will go from the, sacrum to ischial spine. So sacrum to ischial spine will be the sacrospinous. And then the sacrotuberous will go from the sacrum to the ischial tuberosity. So sacrotuberous is from sacrum to ischial tuberosity. So sacrospinous, sacrotuberous. Sacrospinous, sacrotuberous. Sacrospinous, sacrotuberous. And then the inguinal ligament is going to be one that goes right across the front of the pelvis here, basically from the anterior superior iliac spine down to the pubic tubercle. So right across the front here from the anterior superior iliac spine to the pubic tubercle, right across the inguinal region here. Okay. So for all those, we don't really have model with them, so you'll want to take a look at your book. Should have a picture of them in there to see how they're arranged. Okay. Oh, hip joint. Okay, on the hip joint between the femur and the coxal bone here, we have three main ligaments. We have, and they're also going to be named just based off of what they connect. We have this one here that goes from the pubis to the femur. This would be the pubofemoral. Pubofemoral goes right here from pubis to femur. Pubofemoral, pubis to femur, pubofemoral. We have this one that goes from the ilium to the femur, iliofemoral. So pretty much the super big one up on top is the iliofemoral. Goes from ilium to femur, iliofemoral. And then we have this one that branches off the top of the ischium here and goes to the femur, the ischiofemoral. So it's this one kind of in the back, goes from the top of the ischium to the femur, ischiofemoral. So we had pubofemoral, iliofemoral, ischiofemoral. Pubofemoral, iliofemoral, ischiofemoral. Pubofemoral, iliofemoral, ischiofemoral. Pubofemoral, iliofemoral, ischiofemoral. So it's basically just the bones connecting to the femur. Okay. And then, of course, we have the ligamentum capitis femoris, was that little ligament in between the head of the femur and the acetabulum. We can't see it here because I can't pull out the femur head here, but it would be right there in between the two. Okay. Going on to the knee joint. Knee joint, pretty simple as well. We have the quadriceps tendon right up on top of the patella here. Nice big quadriceps tendon, going to connect to our quadriceps muscles there. On top of the patella. On the opposite side, we have the patellar ligament. So patellar ligament is going from the patella to the tibial tuberosity here. It's a nice big patellar ligament right here from the patella to the tibial tuberosity. Patellar ligament. We're going to have two ligaments on the side. We have the lateral collateral ligament on the fibula side and the medial collateral ligament on the tibia side here. So lateral collateral, medial collateral, lateral collateral, medial collateral, lateral collateral, medial collateral. Basically these two guys that run straight up and down between tibia and the femur and the tibia and the fibula are going to be our collaterals, lateral collaterals. We also have our cruciate ligaments, the most obvious of which is this one right back here. This is our posterior cruciate ligament. It goes from the anterior of the femur to the posterior of the tibia. This is the posterior cruciate ligament right here. Posterior cruciate ligament right there. The anterior cruciate ligament we see if we look here, you can see him peeking forward right in there inside the knee cavity there. So that's the anterior cruciate ligament right in there. Anterior cruciate ligament goes from the posterior of the femur to the anterior of the tibia. It's the anterior cruciate ligament right in there. And then, of course, we have the medial and lateral meniscus. The menisci going to be the cartilage pads, the articular cartilage pads that help to shape knee socket here, and so we have the lateral and medial meniscus. Lateral, 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 medial meniscus. Okay. That's the knee. Okay, finally we have the ankle. And so with the ankle joint, first off, we have the calcaneofibular ligament. It's going to be this one right here that connects fibula to calcaneus. So there's the calcaneofibular, nice big one right here. Connects fibula to calcaneus. Nice big guy right there. Calcaneofibular. Now we have the talofibular ligaments, an anterior and a posterior. The anterior is this one right here, basically going from fibula to talus. So it's this one right down in here, going from fibula to talus. Basically exactly what you'd expect. Anterior talofibular there, right there down in front. Now the posterior talofibular is back down here, inside, right in the back there. You see it wrapping around. So it goes the opposite direction from talus to fibula, or fibula to talus. It's right down there in the back. You can see it kind of curling around there. Kind of curls around the back there. It's the posterior talofibular. Kind of curls around the back. Okay. So anterior talofibular was here, posterior is here. So anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior. Okay. The deltoid ligament is going to be a big old ligament that they've removed on this model that basically comes down along the side of the foot here. So deltoid is going to be a big old one coming right down the side of the foot, right side of the ankle, but they've removed it on this model. Let's see. And then we have the superior and inferior extensor retinaculums. These guys right here. So we have the extensor retinaculums, which we have a superior and inferior extensor retinaculum. Superior, inferior extensor retinaculum. Superior, inferior extensor retinaculum. These two right here. Okay. Finally, interosseous tarsal ligaments. These are going to be the little ligaments that sit between all the bones of the tarsals and metatarsals. We don't really see them too clearly on this model, but they'd be all the little ligaments in between the bones themselves. And then the long plantar ligament, they don't have it on this model either, but it should be a big old ligament that basically comes down and covers the bottom of the arch here. So long plantar, going to be a big old ligament right along the bottom of the arch of the foot there.
What is this?
This guy right here, I forget his exact name.
Okay, so, but it's not part of the inferior and superior.
No, it's not part of those. No, it's its own. They have their own structures here because it's holding in the tendons of the fibularis longus and brevis there. And yeah, I forget their exact name. I'd have to look it up. Okay. Okay, I think that's about it there then. Good to go?